Barakata Yahweh, Barakata Yahweh Bahasham, Rakahakwadash, Barakatum. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, glory, and infinite honors to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh. Double honors to the apostles and elders, a great millstone who rule and teach well. In peace and salutations to you sincere Akim out there, pushing this word in truth and sincerity to the four corners of the globe. May you brothers endure until the end. This is the brother Ra'aya with another video, and I'm going to start it off in Matthew chapter 24, verses 9 to 10. Then shall they deliver you up to be afflicted, and shall kill you, and ye shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake. And this was Yahushai, the Son of the Most High, whom the world ignorantly refers to as so-called Jesus, telling his disciples of the things that would befall them for believing and preaching in the gospel. And hey, many of the believers in the past were persecuted and, put to death for the gospel. And as it says in Romans chapter 15, everything written aforetime was written for our learning. The believers today, persecution is coming again, as well as, some of us being martyrs for believing, in Yahweh Bahasham Yahushai and preaching this gospel. Verse 10, and then shall many be offended and shall betray one another and shall hate one another. Hey, when this persecution comes to you sincere Akim and Akwat out there, hey, don't be surprised when so-called best friends, family members, even your children, your significant others, betray you to Esau, Edom, the so-called white man, and the authorities, when they've got your faces on the news and saying that you're a domestic T, a so-called black identity extremist, or whatever narrative they're going to come with to, persecute the believers of Yahweh Bahasham Yahushai. And I opened up the video with these verses to preface an article on WashingtonPolicy.org titled SB, which I believe stands for Senate Bill 5427, to provide up to $2,000 for people to report their neighbors for hate crimes and bias incidents. And it was published on January 18th of 2024. And Apostle Tahar is deemed 2024 to be the hopeful year of Jacob's trouble. But as it says, up to $200,000 for people who report their neighbors for hate crimes and bias incidents. Again, and then shall many be offended at the gospel and shall betray one another and shall hate one another. And hey, that betrayal is going to be able to go down much more easier, with a monetary price tag to it. Key findings. SB 5427 would offer people a reward of up to $2,000 to report their neighbors, co-workers, family members, and other people in the community for a hate crime or a bias incident. And hey, again, persecution is coming, and a lot of people, whether you know it or not, are offended by us preaching the gospel of Yahweh Bahasham Yahushai. We're shining a light on their wicked deeds and telling them that there's going to be a recompense, a judgment for it. And on top of that, these elites, understand the power of the scriptures and the power of the nation of Israel. The nation of Israel consisting of you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans waking up and calling upon the name of your power, and also the prophets out preaching this word. Because whenever the prophets came out, great judgment followed, and whatever kingdom that was ruling at the time was taken down. And these elites of the Edomites understand that they're Edomites and know that once they're taken out of power this final time, that's going to be it. It's going to be 1,000 years of hardcore bondage and slavery for them and the rest of their nation before they're permanently culled from this planet with fire. So as it says in Revelation 12, verse 12, the devil is come down unto you having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time. And many shall be afflicted, and some of us will be faced with being put to death for the sake of the gospel, and we shall be hated of all nations, even our own nation. Verse 2, the bill would create a hotline to the state attorney general's office for this purpose. The dollar reward would create an incentive to report incidents even when there is no evidence or criminal violation has occurred, just a complete kangaroo court. And then on top of that, what do you have? This deep fake and AI technology out here, which many brothers, including myself, have been going into, to where, hey, they can take, the hundreds of thousands of hours of footage, of our ministry on YouTube and put together a hate compilation to accuse us. But then they can also just, take our faces and our voices from those videos and create a completely fabricated event, having brothers doing and saying things they never did just to further persecute us and demonize us. And, those that that have always had a bias, were offended at you for believing or preaching the gospel, hey, that's just going to be more ammunition for them to finally act on that hatred, that animosity they had towards you. Under the bill, the term bias incident can include expressions and other verbal statements preaching the gospel, raising civil rights concerns about criminalizing First Amendment protected speech. And hey, the Constitution, Georgia, I believe it was George W. Bush said it best. The Constitution, the Bill of Rights, all that is just a piece of paper. The elites don't care about that anymore. We don't have any more rights. When they're ready to move, they've got all this exterior legislation set in place so that they can roll that much more easily. The bill provides no process for accused people to clear their names. They just open and closed. You're guilty. Now you're going to jail. The bill creates a financial incentive for people to judge each other, creating a suspicious, hostile environment in classrooms, workplaces, and in the community, point blank period. That money is going to make that betrayal that much easier to swallow. Like Judas getting that 30 pieces of silver to betray Yahushua. So, hey, to you sincere Akim and Akwat out there, hey, 2024 is definitely ramping up to be the hopeful year of Jacob's trouble. Wars and rumors of wars, the persecution coming down the pipeline, the famine of the word, hey, signs in the heavens, with that great eclipse that's going to complete that X over the United States of America. I believe on April 8th, we are truly living in some prophetic times. So while persecution is coming, and it's going to be unlike anything we've experienced before, we should also be rejoicing at the same time, because it was stated in the scriptures for these things to take place. And if we endure, we're going to be of that elect number. But that's it with my first article. Now I'm going to hit some precepts. This is Matthew chapter 10, verses 18 to 22. And ye shall be brought before governors and kings for my sake, and for a testimony against them and the Gentiles. Hey, to some of you brothers out there, we're going to be brought before, these people in the government as what? A testimony against them and against, the Gentiles, the heathen Gentiles. Don't be surprised if you come before you, the mayor, the governor, hey, the president. Hey, some brothers, especially with our apostles and elders, going before even a Rothschild or a Rockefeller. But when they deliver you up, take no thought how or what ye shall speak, for it shall be given you in that same hour what ye shall speak. Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai, hey, Abaratazah, of that elect number, is going to have our back all the way to the end, whatever our lot may be. So much so that, as it says in verse 19, that we don't even have to worry about what kind of testimony we're going to give. Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai already has it predetermined what we're going to say. For it is not ye that speak, but the Spirit of your Father, which speaketh in you. Verse 21, and brother shall deliver up the brother to death, and the father the child, and the children shall rise up against their parents and cause them to be put to death. And many shall be offended and betray one another, and surrender those up. And again, as we just read with that new House bill, there's going to be a money incentive to those that report so-called hate crimes or incidences of hate speech. It says right in the scriptures that, we will be betrayed, and not just by that, but those that are close to us, by family members, friends, your children, your significant other, even so-called brothers in the truth, because brothers always go into it. Hey, there are Judas goats all around us. Verse 22, and ye shall be hated of all men for my name's sake. Hey, for the gospel, the name of Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai, ye shall be hated of all nations. But what does it say? But he that endureth to the end, the same shall be saved. No matter what comes our way, even if it is our lot to be a martyr and be put to death for this truth, as long as we take it manfully, what? We're going to receive that crown, be of that elect number, the first fruits with Yahweh Shai in the kingdom of heaven. This is Amos chapter 5, verse 10. They hate him that rebuketh in the gate, and they abhor him that speaketh uprightly. Many being offended, many amongst our own people offended by the prophets out on the highways and byways preaching this word, telling them, what the truth of the matter is, that you're Israelites, that these heathens, especially these so-called white people that you love so much, are your natural born enemy, and they're going into slavery with these other heathens. And if you don't get right with Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai and committing all these sins, adultery, eating these abominable foods, being an alphabet person, the list goes on and on, you're going to get judged and be put to death for it. Hey, they hate him that rebuketh in the gate, and they abhor him that speaketh uprightly. And the powers that be are putting legislation and, bills in place to make it that much more easy to, persecute us and render us up to the authorities. You're even going to get your 30 pieces of silver, so to speak, for it. But now, I'm going to go to my second bit of information on the Federalist.com titled, "The Fed Gave Banks Tools to Shut Down Your Accounts If You Buy Guns or Bibles." So hitting, that persecution coming at all angles, social persecution, monetary persecution. And this article was published on March 7th of 2024. Again, the hopeful year of Jacob's trouble. The same government pressure erecting an iron curtain around the internet is also constructing a financial social credit system like communist China's inside the United States. Federal agencies gave banks automated censorship tools to flag as possible domestic tease any Americans who buy Bibles or support the enforcement of immigration, says testimony today before a House committee. Federal agencies are funding tools for the financial sector similar to those of social media is using to target misinformation and hate speech, put those in quotes, says a written testimony from Jeremy Tedesco, senior counsel at the nonprofit First Amendment law firm Alliance Defending Freedom, the ADF. Unfortunately, this is just the tip of the iceberg. Federal regulators are successfully pressuring financial institutions to discriminate against customers based on their religious and political beliefs. If the federal government discriminated directly, it would be unconstitutional, notes Tedesco in testimony this afternoon to the Select Subcommittee on the Weaponization of the Federal Government. On March 6th, 16 state attorneys generals called on Wells Fargo to stop using debanking as a political tool to extend the policies of the Biden administration throughout the economy. Wells Fargo has institutionalized discrimination by imposing race and sex-based quotas into credit agreements with customers like BlackRock, says a letter from the attorneys general. The bank is, among others, working to end customers' use of low-cost energy sources and increase their grocery bills to meet Democrats' economic central planning goals, the letter says. And it doesn't matter, who's in office, whether Republicans or Democrats, they're both wings on the same bird. These politicians at the top rub shoulders with the elites, and they're on board with their agendas, bringing about that NW0, that great RESET, that fourth industrial revolution, which ultimately calls for a digital cashless society with everybody on the grid, and the middleman between you and those CBDCs, those central bank digital currencies, is going to be the MARKOFTHEBEAST in Revelation chapter 13, verses 16 to 18, which is that RFID/NFC C-hip implant. And how much easier is it going to be for these banks to, penalize people for so-called hate crimes and misinformation if they don't have any money, hidden underneath the mattress, so to speak, but everything's on a digital grid. And if you and there's no way to hide any money on the side. Everything is on that blockchain, that digital ledger. So if you buck up, they just hit that off switch that they may neither buy nor sell. In short, the same sorts of government pressure erecting an iron curtain around the internet are already constructing a financial social credit system like communist China's inside the United States. Tedesco notes the FBI gave financial institutions a document that reportedly said indicators of domestic violent extremism banks should monitor in customer purchases include objections to firearm legislation, the easing of immigration restrictions, and C19, lock DOWNSs. And how much easier is it going to be for the authorities to find out these views with what? Bills like SB 5427, which give people a financial incentive to rat you up, to rat you to the authorities so they can get that money. Earlier hearings found Treasury Department officials told financial institutions that buying religious texts like a Bible, supporting former President Donald Trump, or shopping at sporting goods stores flags law-abiding Americans as potential domestic tease. And hey, they've got this cover of those that support Donald Trump or those that, buy guns or believe in enforcing immigration. But that's just to have us numbered amongst the transgressors. This is ultimately to persecute, Hebrew Israelites, especially the men of the Lord out on the highways and byways preaching this word, as well as putting up these video epistles online. Just look at that bill up in Canada. I believe it's C-63, which says it's a hate crime for public Bible preachings. And when you think of public Bible preachings, who's the first one that comes to mind? The Hebrew Israelites. Yeah, that's pretty much it with this article. You get the point. But hey, we're coming into the times of the great persecution for believing on the names of Yahweh, Yahweh Shai, and preaching this gospel. This is Isaiah chapter 29. I'm going to start at verse 18. And in that day shall the deaf hear the words of the book, and the eyes of the blind shall see out of obscurity and out of darkness. This gospel being preached to the ends of the earth. And then shall the end come, as it says in Matthew chapter 24, verse 14. That's the main thread of this gospel. The prophets. And we can clearly see at this point that the spirit of Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai is resting with GMS or Great Millstone, as well as the brothers that come in the, stead of GMS. That this gospel that's waking up the Israelites and exposing the Edomites without even lifting up a weapon is the main threat to the powers that be. So they're scrambling to stifle, our speech. They'll throw us in prison. Verse 19. The meek also shall increase their joy in Yahweh, and the poor among men shall rejoice in the Holy One of Israel. Hey, the elect, hearing this gospel and seeing that this society isn't the end-all, be-all. We're not just, niggers, spics, and tontos, the lowest of the low in society, perpetual second-class citizens, that we're royalty, that we're the children of the Most High, and soon we're going to be ruling for eternity in peace and get our enemies, these heathens, underneath our boot heels. Verse 20, For the terrible one is brought to naught. Esau, Edom, first and foremost, and these other heathens finally being taken out of power and put in their rightful place underneath the Israelites. And the scorner is consumed, and all that watch for iniquity are cut off. And you scoffers, whether amongst the heathens or amongst our people that constantly come against this word, and if you could, put us to death, hey, you're going to get your judgment and get cut off, scumbag. Verse 21, that make a man an offender for a word, hey, misinformation, hate speech, and lay a snare for him that reproveth in the gate. SB 5427 that gives $2,000 to those that report their neighbors for hate crimes and bias incidents. And what? The feds giving banks tools to shut down your account if you buy guns or Bibles. That make a man an offender for a word and lay a snare for him that reproveth in the gate. What did it say back in that Amos 5 verse 10? Hey, they hate him that reproveth in the gate and speaketh uprightly, and turn aside the just for a thing of naught. And besides the persecution that's coming, this is also bringing about the famine of the word, where the men of the Lord are no longer going to be on the highways and byways, and these video epistles are no longer going to be available online, which is what I'm going to close it out with. This is Amos chapter 8, verses 11 to 13. Behold, the days come, and as we can see now, they're coming quickly, saith the Lord Yahweh, that I will send a famine in the land, not a famine of bread, nor a thirst for water, though, food shortages and famines where many people are going to starve to death are coming as well, but of hearing the words of Yahweh, the famine of the word, where this word is going to no longer be available like it is now. And they shall wander from sea to sea, and from the north even to the east. They shall run to and fro to seek the word of Yahweh, and shall not find it. In that day shall the fair virgins and young men faint for thirst. You hard-headed, rebellious Israelites out here, who during this time of liberty scoffed at the words of Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai and his prophets preaching them. And as it says in 2 Ezra chapter 9, they shall be in pitiful case, because they despise the word and cast it behind them. Then shall they know it after death by pain. The judgment is going to come and cut you off. So that's it with this video. With this video, I hope you sincere Akim and Akwath were edified. Like we always tell you, drink from these rivers of living waters while you still can, and get as much knowledge and wisdom and understanding as you can. So as it says in, I think it's Isaiah 33 and 6, you'll have that knowledge, wisdom, and understanding to be the stability during these terrible times of Jacob's trouble, which we're coming into. So as always, I'm going to say Abad Babol, Kwam Yasharala, and until